Welcome to tip number 23. Today we're going to talk about balancing the business and the key numbers. This is going to be a two-parter. So today we're going to look at a spreadsheet that we have used with clients and to train. It talks about balancing the business and what makes sense. And then we're going to go through the numbers in the next one, number 24, and talk about what the numbers mean, and when you have a bad number here, how does that relate to somewhere else. So let's start with the spreadsheet. What we have here is we have a business where the owner wants to make a salary of about $140,000. They want to have a net profit of about $240,000. Wants to spend a decent time on vacation. Wants to work 4 days a week. The shop is open 5 days a week. They have a service manager. That way the owner can go do other things and not have to be at the shop all the time. That they pay fairly well, $120,000. And then they have other fixed expenses, the rent, the utilities, the debt, banking cost, vehicle cost, insurances, etc., of about $380,000. And because of all of that, if we look down here, we can see that based on the number of technicians that we have in this shop, which happens to be 4, and based on the current tech productivity at 72%, I've got to do about $2 million or about $2.1 million in sales. Now, this shop is definitely not running correctly because the gross profit margin is at 42%. And the reason that I start out at 42% is because when we work with shops who have not had formal training, who have not had consulting, who've not gone to financial classes to understand the business, 42% is pretty typical. This shop has 12 cars a day and an $89 effective labor rate. Now, I believe we've talked about effective labor rate before, but if not, we're going to talk about it in the next one a little bit. But effective labor rate is what you really get paid. So when you do a couple of comebacks where you don't get anything, you do some oil changes where you're $60 an hour, and you do some diag where you're $130 an hour, and then you do some regular work. When you balance that all out, what do you really get paid? So this shop could be a shop with a posted labor rate of $120,000, but currently they're only getting $89 an hour effectively. Could be a lot of things that create that, and again, we'll talk about that in number 24. Their current average pay order is 372, and the reason I use that number is because that's a typical number within our industry. It was on the last survey that I saw. They have 4 technicians and they're at 72% productivity, meaning that the technicians, for every 8 hours that they stay there, they put out about 6 hours worth of work that a business can sell to the customer. Productivity is one of your more important numbers. Now, because of all of this, in order to be successful, they have to do $2.1 million in sales. That's about $8,121 a day. And they're going to need 3.9 more technicians to get that work done. And they're going to need 9.8 more cars a day, almost 10 cars a day. And if we have a marketing cost of $67 to attract and find one new customer, which is fairly average, I'm going to have to spend $164,667 in order to bring in those 9.8 cars. And I'm going to have to probably hire another service advisor, maybe 2 service advisors to handle those people and the technicians, order the parts, etc., etc. So as car count and tech count goes up, at some point I've got to increase my fixed expenses. In this particular shop, if I take this $164,000 and I put it into the fixed expenses, what would happen is our car count would go up. We'd need more than 9.8 and we'd need more than 3.9 techs. We would keep going up and up and up as we added car count to this shop. I call that a downward spiral. I call that a spiral that we cannot really get ourselves out of. Now, over here, because of my low productivity in F6 here, I'm going to lose $134,599, and that's for hours that we did or that we spent in the shop that we paid techs for, but they were not able to complete because they're not 100% productive. So I'm going to lose that money, and I call that magic money because you never really had it, and it just kind of magically disappears. And this is what's going on in a lot of shops. Now, before we get to the details of how we're going to balance this thing out, we need to talk a little bit about how we pay our tech. In this shop, we pay our tech $32 an hour. He's a tech. He's 72% productive. When we add a load, the load would be the FICA, the FUTA, the workers' comp, medical, dental, paid holidays, paid vacations, etc. It's $41.60. So it costs me $41.60 for every hour that he produces that I can sell to my customer, except when he's not 100% productive. When he's not 100% productive and he's only 72% productive, it actually costs me $57.78 for every hour that he does that I can then bill to customers. And my margins on my labor go down considerably. If I was to balance this out and create my labor rate based on what my tech is doing and what my cost of labor is, I would have to be at $104 an hour at an effective labor rate if he was 100% productive. When he's not and he's 72% productive, my labor rate has to be $144.44. So it's a vast difference. And what we're going to do now is we're going to balance this business. We're going to take about 5 minutes. We're going to get this thing balanced out, make it run correctly. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fix our margin. You should have a 62% gross margin. That's after parts and labor costs, tech costs loaded. In this shop, we have 42 because we're not pricing right, because we're discounting in some cases, because we're emotionally attached to the customer, whatever it is. We're going to get rid of that. And we're going to get to 59%. We're not even going to get to 62. We're not all the way, but we're going to get to 59 because we're going to change our matrix. We're going to be more careful about what we discount, and we're going to be more careful about cutting prices, and we're going to get rid of negotiating altogether. When we change our gross margin to 59%, if you'll notice over here, I no longer need 3.9 techs. I only need 1.6. And I don't need 9.9 cars or 9.8 cars. I only need 3.5. And that's really because now I only have to do about $1.5 million in order to get what I want out of this business. I'm going to make some more adjustments because I really don't want to hire another tech and a half, and I don't really want to bring in another 3.5 cars. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix our effective labor rate. Now, part of that might be pricing. I might raise the price, but part of it might be paying attention to the kind of jobs I'm doing, making sure that I'm doing the jobs that have a higher effective labor rate. I might have a multi-labor rate program where I create different labor rates in my company for different types of work that I do. I might use a labor multiplier where I'm multiplying the labor rate to bring the price up. But we're going to move our effective labor rate up from 89 to 112. And we may not even have changed our posted rate from 120. It may still be 120, but we're going to go from 89 to 112. And when we go from 89 to 112, if you look over here, I only need a half a tech. I still need 3.5 cars. That doesn't help me in the car count issue. But I'm going to fix that too because I'm going to raise my average repair order. We're going to do better inspections. We're going to bring in a better customer that's more likely to buy. We're going to increase our pricing in some areas, and that's going to help us to raise our average repair order. When we raise our average repair order, say from 372 to 520, now how many more cars do I need? I actually could be more picky and take one less car in. I've got plenty of cars if I can do these things in my business. And now I'm going to do 1.5. I still got to hire a half a tech. I haven't found out who that is or what that is. Never seen a half a tech. So I'm not sure that I got this thing all balanced. But this is a much better run business, and it's going to be a much more successful business, and I'm going to get what I want. Now, I'm not happy losing $134,000 to lost productivity, so we're going to bring our technician productivity up over 100%. Last shop I ran, over a 6-year period, we were at 119%. A lot of the shops that I work with have at least 100% productivity. Several of them have more than 100%, but we're going to move our productivity up from 72% up to about 110%. When we move our productivity up from 72% over 100%, now I can actually get rid of that grouchy tech that doesn't make my life simple, that makes my life miserable, because I really only need 3 techs. As the tech shortage gets more and more intense, as it becomes more and more difficult to find techs, it's going to become more and more important that we run our shops productively so that we can use just the techs that we need. Now, this is a balanced business. In fact, I'm going to make an extra $31,000 because we're going to do more than 8 hours a day. And of course, this is assuming that we're paying our techs hourly or salary of some type instead of flat rate. And flat rate's fine, except for when you have techs that are unproductive in flat rate, nobody's making any money. You might have 10 techs, all at 70%, and that might get you what you want, but it's never going to get those 10 techs what they want, and they're never going to be happy because they're not going to be getting paid. They're going to be paid 72% of what they should be paid. Now in my shop, because we brought in an extra $31,000 and I already got what I wanted out of the business, now we're going to take that $31,000, we're going to give each of the 3 techs that we keep a $10,000 raise. We're going to use that money to motivate them to do the things that I want from them, which are productivity, quality of work, education, certification, and that's what we're going to do. So this is a tool that we built to balance out any business that we happen to look at, and I hope you enjoyed this. Now in our next tip, number 24, we're going to talk about some of the key numbers that we discussed here, and we're going to give you some ideas about what those key numbers are and what they mean for your business. Thank you for watching.